Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Ryan Pichetti. I'm back to share a little bit more information on behalf of the Avon School District. We'll call this an Avon Update, Nate. It'll also take the place of my Friday afternoon school messenger. I'm really much more personable than just sitting behind a computer keyboard typing messages to you. I do want to talk and interact, and I miss doing some of those things that we were able to do during the first couple of months when I started back in January. But this is going to be an Avon Update, Nate. We will also share and post the presentation as part of the Communications Friday afternoon, but I didn't want it to be another long-winded email. I wanted to get you some specific information in a timely fashion as best I could. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just a reminder of the mindset that we're trying to keep here at the school. We're trying to be PFP, be positive, flexible, and proactive to the extent possible. So far, there's been lots of situations and instances where this mindset has served us well, because this can be a little overwhelming. Changing the whole way schools operate and with very little notice is certainly been challenging, but I think the right mindset is helping to serve us well. The overview is going to go through the typical, those who have seen it before. I'm going to do a shout out and thanks. I want to talk a little bit about this week as a special week for our Board of Education. I want to talk about the Livingston County Department of Health and give some information about the cluster language that you're hearing a little bit about. And I want to provide an update about our broadcasts and our communication efforts as far as what will be happening in the near future. Our recognition this week, it has to go back to our school nurses who have been working tirelessly since this pandemic started, and really since the beginning of the school year have been doing an amazing job communicating with the Department of Health, with our school physician, with families, with students, and with other administrators, and helping to problem solve some of the cases and situations that we're facing. They've done an incredible job. Speaking of our students, I also want to thank our students. So many faculty and staff have talked to me about what a great job the kids are doing with some of the rules and restrictions that are in place that have changed what school might look and feel like to them, but they've done an amazing job. Both the nurses and the students are doing an incredible job of being positive, flexible, and proactive, which is just what we want. And it takes all of us. So we really thank them for their efforts. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about the New York State School Boards Association has dedicated this week of October 19th to October 23rd as School Board Appreciation Week. This is something that the New York State School Boards Association does every year, and they want to highlight the volunteerism of Board of Education members. Our folks here in the Avon Board of Education attend at least 2 meetings a month, and sometimes those meetings will have executive session, which takes a little bit longer. They do hours of preparation and reading, whether it's communication from the state or communication updates from administrators, or planning for the Board of Education meetings, or working with information that might come through our business office that they'll have to make a decision on. It takes a great deal of time and energy. They're very involved with advocacy efforts, both at the local, state, and federal levels, advocating for the needs of the district on behalf of the students in the community. These are true volunteers who serve a voluntary 3-year term for our district. I really like this one snip from some of the literature to promote the Appreciation Week. It talks about how the role of the Board of Education is to ensure the public schools are flexible and responsive to the needs of the community. So as I've been talking about BPFP, I think it's really just an extension of our school board and the leadership that they've shown throughout my time here, at least, in going back for some years. So I wanted to thank the Board of Education on behalf of the school district, the faculty and staff, and all of the students. We appreciate the time and energy that you dedicate to the school district in Avon. So thank you so much. Next up will be a Department of Health update. I'm fortunate enough to work within the Livingston County cluster of schools, and within the schools, each of us has the opportunity to meet with the Livingston County Department of Health 2 times a week. We get together, and the Department of Health have been terrific partners throughout this entire pandemic, sharing resources, sharing case information with us, being willing to be problem-solving partners as we talk through some situations and scenarios. They offer us guidance in terms of some of the interpretations of the requirements and the literature that's put out, and they've just been incredible in sharing resources with us, whether it's time and energy or in real practical cases. Some of the sanitizer and some of the PPE they've been able to share with some of the local school districts as well as other community agencies. So they've been a great partner in all of this. They've been talking a little bit, and as has Governor Cuomo, about the clustering language that you're hearing. So in a nutshell, clustering would be hot zones of numbers of COVID-19 cases broken down by zip code. So in some cases, a zip code might be showing high rates of infection. Within those zip codes, there's another concept of microclustering. And what the microclustering concept will come in is if they can trace the infection rate in a zip code to a specific event or entity, then the school in that district might have a chance of remaining open and not having to go to a remote teaching situation. So where this might come into play is if there's a community, for example, that has a hospital, for example, and a number of the floor of that particular hospital might experience a high infection rate. So the zip code rates may go way up, but if it can be traced back to the floor of that particular hospital, they would consider that a microcluster, and there's less concern about community spread, and therefore the school in that zip code would be able to continue operations as normal. If there's not a true source that can be identified, then the clustering language might take over. That would cause the school district to be forced into a remote model, and then some additional testing measures are required where 20% of the population would need to be tested at least once a week. We want to do everything we can to stay out of that because, quite simply, Livingston County doesn't have the capacity to do that much testing on a week-to-week basis. It's not possible through the county health department. It's not possible through some of the other agencies, let alone the schools themselves not having access to the testing. So whatever we can do to stay out of that scenario is what we want to do. It takes all of us. We all need to do our part in trying to keep this spread and the rates of infection as low as they can be through the masking, through the social distancing, through the cleaning and sanitizing, all of those good practices. As the weather starts to change, really being mindful of the number of groups and outdoor gatherings that we are able to attend. The last update that I want to provide is in regards to communications. Our Facebook account has come back online, and we're excited about that. So what will be happening next week, I'm going to do a Facebook Live broadcast on October 28th at 4 p.m. So that's must-watch TV for the community, I'm sure. But that'll be live on Facebook on October 28th at 4 p.m. And then there's also a communications team at work now, and we're trying to put together some additional social media efforts to expand our reach, so it's not just emails or these broadcasts or even the principal's newsletter that's been going out at the beginning of the week, but we're trying to expand our number of tools that we're using to communicate, and also trying to be more mindful of including students in some of these communications because this readily affects their school day on a day-to-day basis. And then the next thing that we'll be communicating about, I know we've been in this short-term mindset of dealing with COVID-19 and trying to manage the opening of school, but we also have a responsibility to be thinking towards the future. And back when I was doing the Facebook broadcast in the spring, I started to share some information about future planning that's happening and coming your way in regards to coming together, collaborating, and taking a look at what we want to do for Avon's future. So we'll be sharing some information about the future planning for the Avon Central School District. So I hope this is a welcome alternative to just reading an email. This will be posted online, and we will also post the entire presentation that I just went through online as well. So thank you and have a great weekend. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email or call the district office, and we'll do our best to answer questions as quickly as we can. So thank you and have a great weekend.